Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Thursday, October the 31st. Happy Halloween. I hope everybody is getting ready for that. I guess about 6 o'clock local time. The little boys and girls will come to your door and say trick or treat, and I hope you have candy for them. It's one of my favorite holidays, and it's because the holiday is for the kids. I mean, I'm not really into it. For adults, costume parties, I guess, if you want to do that. But I really like it when the kids come to your door and you got to, you know, look at their outfits. I think it's a really neat tradition, and I hope it never goes away. Well, the Dodgers won the World Series last night. I didn't think they would beat the Yankees, but they did. But really, the Yankees really beat themselves, especially last night. You know, that fifth inning or sixth inning when they made three errors in one inning, including the last one where the pitcher didn't cover first base. You realize that if he had covered first base, that would have been the last out. No runs would have scored, and they would have gotten out of that inning, bases loaded, nobody out, no runs scored. I mean, that would have been a real turning point of the series. I mean, that would have been something that would probably kept the Yankees leading, and maybe they would have ended up winning the game. But no, the whole thing fell apart. Their defense fell apart in that inning, making some unusually bad errors from people who don't usually make errors, like the shortstop and the center fielder, and of course the pitcher not covering first base. So it was a really bad night for the Yankees, and I think this whole off season, you're going to hear a lot in New York about that one game and that one inning. Kind of reminiscent, if you're a Texas Rangers fan, may remember that series against Toronto where the Rangers made three errors in one inning and ended up losing the series. That's kind of what it reminded me of. Being, of course, a Rangers fan, I remember that. But I've never seen a team fall apart like that in a World Series game, just completely fall apart in one inning. I mean, it's just something that I had never seen before. So, yeah. On the other hand, the Dodgers do have a great team. Cannot be denied that they have a great team. So I guess we might as well be honest and say that the better team won. Even though I didn't think they were going to win, the better team won the World Series. I mean, the Yankees' big bats, whether Stanton or whether Judge, even Soto, really didn't come through. And that's the bottom line. They didn't come through, and that's what happens when your big guys don't come through. And then on top of that, you make a few pitching changes that were not maybe the smartest. It all fell apart. It was like a perfect storm. It just hit the Yankees and let the Dodgers celebrate. They deserve it. They won. They won fair and square. They played, frankly, much better baseball during the whole series. Well, you may have heard that President Trump is in New Mexico today. And, some people are saying, why is he going to New Mexico? He's not going to win that. Well, apparently there is some polling data that President Trump is doing fairly well in New Mexico. He's still trailing, but he's within the margin of error, as they like to say. Same information is coming out of New Hampshire. Same information is coming out of Virginia, where you have states that nobody thought were going to be in play 3 months ago are suddenly in play. Now, my guess is that Kamala Harris will win New Mexico. And my guess is that she will win Virginia. But New Hampshire might be a different story. New Hampshire is actually a pretty conservative state, but a lot of people from Massachusetts have moved there, and they've sort of made the state a little bit more blue. But, they have had Republican governors. In fact, Sununu, who's the governor now, and it's very good chance that he's going to be replaced by this lady who used to be a senator, can't think of her name right now, who was a really good senator from New Hampshire, a really, really good senator. So, they have their Republican votes. And I think it would be really cool if New Hampshire went Republican and added 4 more seats to the, it's only 4 electoral votes, but still you want some red up in New England, and that's what New Hampshire would bring. So we'll see how that all goes. I can tell you from my standpoint today, last day of October, Halloween, that I think Trump's going to win. I really do. I think Trump is putting together what looks like a pretty good victory here. It's not going to be a blowout. I don't buy that, but I think it's going to be I just saw a projection of about 312 electoral votes, somewhere in that area, between 300 and 312 in that area. Probably similar to 2000, I mean, not 2000, but 2016, similar to that election. And I think that that's what it's going to be. So I do think he's going to win. I do think he's going to win. He's not going to win probably all of the states like Michigan and Wisconsin. I think he'll win Pennsylvania. I think he'll win Wisconsin. Michigan is the only one I'm not sure about. There's data either way. And that's a state where, you have a Democrat governor, but there's also a very good Senate race in Michigan. Former Representative Rogers is the Republican candidate for the Senate there, and he's really good. And right now they're in a close dead heat between him and the Democrat. I'd love to see him win that seat and become senator. But I think overall Trump is going to win the election, or at least the Electoral College. I have seen some projections that he might even win the popular vote. That's hard to do. So that's why I'm not as keen on that projection, because he's got to somehow get around the big vote in California. Remember, the Democrats going to probably have a margin of anywhere from maybe 7 to 8 million votes in California. So that's a lot of votes that you got to get from the other 49 to compensate for that margin of victory. So I'm not inclined to tell you that he's going to win the popular vote, but he will win, at least from where I'm sitting. I think it looks like he's going to win the Electoral College. Now, the Senate looks really, really good for the Republicans, and it's either going to be 51 or it's going to be like 53. It depends what happens in Ohio. That's looking really good. So Ohio would be 52. West Virginia would be 50. Montana would be 51. Ohio would be 52. I think those three I feel pretty confident about. And then you have some of the others like Michigan that I talked about. You have Wisconsin. You have Pennsylvania. Those are the three that I think are where I think they have a decent chance. So, you get all those three. Now you're talking, 54, 55 senators? That would be a big number if you had that many senators. But I do think the Republicans in a worst case scenario will get 51, 52, and they will have the majority of the Senate. Now, the House is a different story. I have seen 3 or 4 projections of the House. You got these very interesting people, very smart people, really, on the internet, on YouTube, who do all these predictions, and they get into all the numbers and all the hypotheticals. And I've seen both sides of this. They're either way, nobody's going to have a big majority. Whoever wins is going to have a majority of maybe 5 or 6 votes. So it's going to be a contentious House, let's just say. And it doesn't matter who wins the House, really. As long as the Republicans win the Senate, that's the firewall. That's where everything stops. So if you have a Democrat Senate and they write all of these things that they send to the Senate will kill most of them. And, that's the end of it. If you have a Republican House, then there is the possibility of maybe some things getting done. But you got to understand that you still have to get 60 votes in the Senate. And that's always a lot more complicated. When it's done in a party vote, it's impossible to get 60 votes. So you don't have to get 60 votes, though, to get things done, because you can do some things through reconciliation, which only requires a majority. And of course, the judges, you can do the judges. You need a majority in the Senate, and you can do the judges. So, again, we will keep an eye on it, but I'm confident about the presidency, and I'm very confident about the Senate. The House, I'm up in the air. Now, it's interesting because a week or so ago, we spoke with our friend George Rodriguez down in South Texas. He mentioned that there might be a couple of seats or districts in South Texas, the one by Henry Cuellar, the one held by Democrat Henry Cuellar. That's right on the border. And then right next to him, there's another district held by Vicente Gonzalez, another Democrat. And George was telling me that he feels very, very good, very, very good that both of those districts will flip. Now, if you see stuff like that on election night, where you've got those kinds of seats flipping, then I would argue that let me say thanks to Jennifer Williams for sending a note. Thanks for your comment, Jennifer. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you that if you see seats flipping, like down in Texas, and according to my friend George, it's all about the border. That there's a lot of discontent down there. So we'll see. But again, I think the House, I think it could go 50-50 at this time. Either one could win. So we'll just leave it. We'll just leave it at that. Just a quick note that I have a post over at the American Thinker about this garbage comment that President Biden made. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, and I don't want to go into it too much today, but I have a post over at the American Thinker about that if you want to check it out. The tremendous damage, I think, that he's done to himself, really, by saying something as stupid as that. Let me close today. Oh, by the way, when it comes to the elections, going back to the elections, I do think that Trump will win Texas between 6 and 10 points. And I think Cruz will win around 4 points. So both of them will win, and that's how I see the state elections here in Texas. Now, let me just say a word about, apparently, one of the daughters, former President George W. Bush had 2 daughters, or has 2 daughters. One of them is apparently openly campaigning for Kamala Harris. And look, I don't personally care. I mean, I like President Bush a lot. I think he did a good job at a time of need after 9/11, and overall, I think he did a good job. But, his daughters can do whatever they want. I remember President Reagan's son, Ron Reagan Jr., who became a real liberal and was on MSNBC all the time. And of course, the liberals love it when a guy named Ronald Reagan Jr. is criticizing either Trump or Bush or whatever. But the reality is that it doesn't matter that much, but it does leave you thinking. It does leave you thinking, what exactly are these people thinking? Especially Lynn Cheney, by the way. And I talked about Lynn Cheney in another video. What are they thinking? I mean, the same people who apparently are now madly in love with this lady Bush, young woman Bush, were the same people who were vilifying her father. They said terrible things about her father. And look, Cheney was even worse. And they used to say horrible things about, remember Bush derangement syndrome and Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, these people used to say horrible things about their father. And then, of course, you have the whole issue of the activist judges. That was a big deal in the Bush-Cheney campaign of 2000 and 2004. They were constantly talking about activist liberal judges. So if this daughter of President Bush, if she supports Kamala Harris, who does she think she's going to nominate to the Supreme Court? The same kinds of liberal activist judges that we have in the Supreme Court right now. Those 3 ladies who apparently think it's okay to have people in Virginia vote who are not citizens of the United States. I mean, what an incredibly stupid thing that is. I mean, you have a 6-3 vote. The 3 who say it's okay to keep those people on the voter rolls are the three Democrats, or the 3 appointed by Democrats. Well, those are exactly the kinds of judges you're going to get if Kamala Harris wins. So that's why I'm surprised that the Bush family and the Cheney family, are so critical, or at least so public in support of Kamala Harris. If they don't like Trump, that's fine. They don't have to like him. But to go out there and take such a position of support against Kamala Harris, it really puzzles me, and it makes me wonder, how much do they hate Trump, and how much do they love their country? I think they should love their country more than they hate Trump. Well, thank you for listening. Again, congratulations to the Dodgers, and we will see you the next time. Bye-bye, everybody.